There is a moment in every genuine survival scenario where reality separates violently from preparation. It is the moment when the weight of your pack, the brand of your fire starter, the number of freeze-dried meals you stored, and the length of your gear list become completely irrelevant to whether you live or die in the next 24 hours. It is not a cinematic moment. There is no slow-motion resolve, no dramatic clarity, no sudden wave of competence. It is a cold, mechanical moment where your body has already begun calculating debts that your brain has not yet acknowledged. People have died surrounded by survival gear they never properly deployed. People have survived multi-day ordeals with nothing but the clothes on their back and a single functional idea lodged in their mind. The difference between those outcomes is not hardware. It is understanding, and the survival hack we are examining today is not a product, not a piece of gear, not a technique you can practice in your backyard on a Saturday afternoon. It is a conceptual framework, rooted in hard physics, physiology, and military-tested emergency science, that restructures how every single survival decision should be made. When you understand this framework at a mechanistic level, everything else you know about survival clicks into a coherent hierarchy. Without it, your survival knowledge is a pile of disconnected facts, waiting to fail you at the worst possible moment, under the worst possible conditions, when the cost of failure is your life. Let us establish the stakes with precision, because precision is what separates understanding from assumption. The National Search and Rescue Association has analyzed thousands of wilderness survival incidents across decades of field data, and the findings consistently point to one overwhelming pattern. The majority of fatalities in survivable situations occur not because victims lacked gear, but because they made a small number of consequential errors in the first 6 to 12 hours of their ordeal. These errors were not made by incompetent or underprepared individuals. Many of the victims in these documented incidents were experienced hikers, hunters, military veterans, and outdoor professionals with significant knowledge and equipment. The errors were made because those knowledge bases were organized around the wrong foundational principle. These individuals understood survival tactics. They did not understand survival physics. And in the absence of the correct foundational physics, tactical knowledge becomes dangerously unreliable under the stress of a real emergency, because stress degrades executive function, degrades decision sequencing, and degrades the brain's ability to synthesize disconnected facts into coherent, prioritized action. What does not degrade under stress, or at least what degrades far more slowly, is deeply internalized principle. A principle that has been understood at a mechanistic level, not simply memorized as a rule, continues to guide decisions even when the prefrontal cortex is fighting for resources against a torrent of cortisol, adrenaline, and fear-induced neural noise. So what is the principle? Here is the foundational physics that most survival training either glosses over or never explicitly states. Your body is a thermodynamic engine. It produces heat through metabolic processes. The biological combustion of glucose, fats, and proteins in your muscle tissue and organ systems. And it loses heat to the environment through 4 distinct physical mechanisms: conduction, convection, radiation, and evaporation. Your survival, at the most fundamental level, is determined by the balance between your body's heat production and heat loss. Your core temperature must remain within a window of approximately 36 to 37.5 degrees Celsius, roughly 96.8 to 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit. For your organ systems, particularly your cardiovascular and neurological systems, to function within their operational parameters. Deviate from that window by as little as 2 degrees in either direction, and cognitive performance begins to degrade in measurable, documented ways. Deviate by 4 to 5 degrees, and you enter a zone of life-threatening physiological dysfunction. Deviate by 8 degrees in either direction, and you are approaching the boundary of what the human body can survive. This is not metaphorical language. This is thermodynamics applied directly to biological systems. Every decision you make in a survival situation either contributes to or subtracts from your ability to maintain that temperature window. And here is the critical insight that most survival frameworks completely miss. Every other survival need, water, food, fire, shelter, signaling, is secondary to and causally dependent upon your ability to maintain thermal homeostasis. Not because these other needs are unimportant, but because thermal dysregulation will kill you faster than any of them, and because thermal dysregulation will simultaneously impair your ability to address any of them at the precise moment you most urgently need to. The misunderstanding that kills people is deceptively simple in its structure. The survival community has spent decades building what can best be described as an inventory-based preparedness culture. Survival readiness has become synonymous with possession. The number of items in your bug-out bag, the quality of your multi-tool, the caloric density of your emergency rations, the lumens of your tactical light. These metrics have become the primary language through which preparedness is evaluated and communicated. This is not entirely without value. Quality gear genuinely does extend your margin in a survival scenario under the right conditions. But inventory-based thinking creates a critical cognitive vulnerability. It conditions you to think in terms of what you have, rather than what is actively happening to you physiologically. When you are in a real survival situation, the most important data stream you need to be monitoring is not your gear inventory. It is your body's thermal status, your hydration status, and your cognitive status. These 3 data streams, monitored continuously and acted upon with physiological intelligence, constitute the actual survival hack. And the reason these 3 data streams are primary is rooted directly in the thermodynamic physics we just established. Your body is not passive. It is an active, highly sophisticated thermal management system, and it has already begun making survival decisions on your behalf the moment ambient conditions became threatening. Understanding what those decisions are and working with rather than against your body's automatic physiological responses is the core operational principle. Here is the specific physiology, because this is where the survival implications become granular, actionable, and genuinely life-altering in their practical consequences. When your core temperature begins to fall, which happens far faster than most people expect, particularly in wet or windy conditions, your body initiates a cascade of protective autonomic responses. The first response is peripheral vasoconstriction. The smooth muscle walls of blood vessels in your extremities contract, dramatically reducing blood flow to your skin surface, your hands, and your feet. This minimizes heat loss through radiation and convection from these high surface area structures. This is why your fingers and toes become cold and lose fine motor function before your core is significantly compromised. Your body is deliberately sacrificing peripheral thermal comfort to protect the vital organs at your center. The second response, as core temperature continues to drop, is involuntary skeletal muscle contractions known as shivering, your body's emergency heat generation mechanism. Shivering can increase your metabolic heat production by 2 to 5 times resting levels, burning through your caloric reserves at a rate equivalent to moderate physical exercise, even while you are standing completely still. The third response is a progressive neurological shift. Cognitive performance begins to degrade as blood is preferentially directed to core organs, and as the enzyme-driven electrochemical processes responsible for neural signaling begin operating outside their optimal temperature ranges. This three-stage cascade is critically important to understand for one specific reason. Each stage consumes energy and narrows your window of effective action. Shivering burns calories aggressively. Vasoconstriction is metabolically costly, and the cognitive degradation that accompanies declining core temperature will impair your ability to take corrective action in a measurable, documented, progressive way, which means the window for effective self-rescue closes faster than the physical symptoms alone might suggest. The evidence for this cascade is both clinical and extensively field-derived. Studies conducted by the U.S. Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine, one of the world's foremost institutions in applied human performance under environmental stress, have quantified exactly how rapidly cognitive and physical performance deteriorate under thermal stress conditions. At core temperatures just 2 degrees Celsius below normal, subjects in controlled studies demonstrated measurable impairment in manual dexterity, spatial reasoning, and decision-making speed. The precise skill set required for emergency shelter construction, fire starting, and route navigation.